Mr. Sherman.
Let me give you some advice in the other direction. There are a host of titles and provisions in Dodd-Frank, and there are a host of other laws that you carry out. The fact that they come to you in a political package called Dodd-Frank or they come in some other package is of great interest to politicians. But those are different titles. Just because a provision was in Dodd-Frank doesn't link it with another provision of Dodd-Frank or de-link it from provisions of laws that were passed earlier or later. So I would hope in carrying out your responsibilities you would look functionally, since the purpose is to give us advice how to improve derivatives regulation, how to improve a depository institution regulation, and leave it to the politicians to second-guess bills named for politicians. We do get one benefit from the fact that the Vice Chair for Supervision has yet to take office, and that is we get to spend another day with you. This is of great personal joy to me. And from your standpoint, you get to spend another day with our chairman, who is the most prominent American named Jeb who does not use an exclamation point to spell his name. So there are some real benefits from that. I want to focus on interest rates. You came here in July, and I spent my 5 minutes laying out reasons why you should not then increase interest rates. My most gullible friends believe that I was successful in persuading you, and hence that is the reason why interest rates have not gone up. I have some gullible friends. But I want to keep doing it. As I argued then, back in the summer, God's plan is not for things to rise in the autumn. As a matter of fact, that's why we call it fall. Nor is it God's plan for things to rise in the winter through the snow. God's plan is that things rise in the spring, and so if you want to be good with the Almighty, you might want to delay until May. And I know there are a bunch of things you're aware of. Many economists say we shouldn't move forward now. Managing director of the IMF has been fairly candid. We've got deflationary risk. We just have a bad growth report. And you're aware of it, but you probably won't estimate it as highly as I will because of my occupation. But don't underestimate the ability of politicians in both Europe and the United States to screw things up. I mentioned last time you were here the psychological advantage to retirees of nominal interest rates of 4 to 5% so they can live on their retirement savings without a nominal invasion of principal. That psychological benefit is not in the GDP statistics. As a matter of fact, you reduce the GDP statistics because they're not going to psychologists and spending money, which would be part of the GDP, but it does enhance and then finally, as I pointed out to you, and I do want to talk to you privately about this, how FASB is coming up with this new $2 trillion change that will hurt construction, depress the economy. The other thing is that if you act too soon and you decide, oops, we acted too soon, you put yourself in a position first where you have a zigzag policy, and you will face criticism from that by some people I know. And second, if you then want to go in the other direction, you only got a quarter point to play with. So if you hit the brake too soon and just say, oops, I got to hit the accelerator, you don't have any gas. With that in mind, I'm concerned about the effect raising interest rates now would have on the real estate recovery, and I would ask you what you would think the impact would be of raising interest rates on the housing recovery, and would we squeeze creditworthy borrowers out of the housing market and create a negative feedback loop with prices going down?
So you've made a large number of very good points and indicated many relevant considerations that the committee is trying to weigh in balance and has been taking into account. With respect to the housing market, of course, the level of mortgage rates is relevant to housing, and so we're very aware that, for example, a sharp rise in mortgage rates could have a very negative effect on housing. We do, however, have a recovering economy where employment is going up, income is going up, households are in better shape to form households, whether it's that they're moving into rental properties. The millennials seem to have a strong preference for later house purchases, but we do envision gradual recovery in the economy, in the housing sector. Let me come back to the point that I made earlier, which is the committee anticipates a very gradual increase in interest rates. We're not envisioning that when we begin to raise rates, we're going to be looking at a very steep path of interest rates that would cause the kind of harm that you're worried about to the housing sector. So that whole path matters, and that is a gradual path.
The time of the gentleman has expired. The Chair now recognizes the gentleman